Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Yesterday I did a meal plan and a grocery shop, and when I got home I threw everything into my fridge. So today I'm going to be doing some fridge organization and some produce prep for the week. If you need a little bit of motivation to get your fridge in order and help set yourself up for success this week, this video is for you. And with that, let's get to it. Okay, to start things off, I'm just going to take the stickers off of the bananas and take the tag off of this pineapple. I like doing this to make the fruit that's sitting on my countertop look just a little bit cuter. I was so happy to pick up a pineapple during this grocery shop because this means that the weather is finally starting to get warmer and I have officially broken out some of my summertime barbecue recipes for this week's meal plan. I will be using that pineapple to make Hawaiian-style pizzas on naan bread. Comment down below, are you a pineapple on pizza kind of person? I'm a huge fan and I'm so glad that my husband likes it as well. With the leftover pineapple, I'm going to be making this delicious Hawaiian chicken marinade and then barbecuing the pineapple chunks with some cinnamon and brown sugar and then drizzling it with some maple syrup. So good. There's nothing better than taking sweet fruit and adding even more sweetness, am I right? There is nothing wrong with a little sweet treat now and again, especially when we are kicking off the barbecue season and celebrating some warmer weather. Anyways, moving on to the fridge, everything is out of place in here from the past couple of weeks, so the first thing that I'm doing is going shelf by shelf and just removing the items that either don't belong on that shelf or are expired. Once all the shelves are cleared, I'll start putting things back into their rightful places. So everything in my fridge tends to have a zone. So the top shelf is for beverages and cooking ingredients that I use most often, like butter, garlic, and bouillon. The second shelf is for my prepped produce, any leftovers we have on the go, and currently this shelf is also housing any large condiments that I can't fit in the door. The third shelf I use for breakfast items like eggs, egg whites, yogurt, nuts and seeds, and any other ingredients that I like to add to my oats. I use the drawers in my fridge for meat and cheese, and then I use the door for condiments. So having compartments like this helps me know what I have on hand at a quick glance, and it also makes organizing the fridge nice and easy by starting off with the simple task of just putting things where they belong. Once everything is on the correct shelves, I am just evaluating what's left on my countertop. There are some things that definitely need to hit the garbage here, but the produce that is still good, I am moving over to my countertop by my sink so that I can wash it all up later. There is just something about being able to see how many eggs I have that I really like. So that's why you saw me move the eggs in the fridge from the carton into that plastic container. I am cutting up the carton for the leftover eggs that didn't fit into the plastic container. Sometimes I end up just stacking the excess eggs in the plastic container and then not putting the lid on it, and sometimes I do it this way where I cut up the carton. It really just depends on my thought process for that day and my mood. We tend to go through eggs relatively quickly in this house, and I just don't like being caught by surprise if I open the egg carton and find that there is only one left. So that is why I remove them from the carton and I put them in a clear-topped container, and I also cut the lid off of the carton for the excess eggs that didn't fit in that container, so that when I open my fridge, at a quick glance, I can see how many eggs we have on hand. So now I am separating what's going in the garbage and what's going back into the fridge. Items for the garbage I have pressed towards the back of the counter, and items I am keeping are towards the front with the eggs. I am decanting my dried figs so that they are in one container instead of two to save us some space, and I'll be adding those to the keep pile. Unfortunately, as you can see, I am throwing away a lot of herbs this week as well as a lot of dairy. There is just a little bit of milk in that carton, but there was quite a bit of cream that had expired. Throwing things away is always a bad feeling, but the past couple of weeks have been very busy for us and we have been pulled out of the house for dinners, and unfortunately these herbs and dairy products that would have normally been used in back-to-back meal plans just didn't get the opportunity to make it to the next plan. This is real life, and we do our best to minimize waste, but it still happens, especially when our schedules get super busy. So now I'm just putting those keep items back into my fridge. I'm putting the eggs onto my breakfast shelf as well as the dried figs. I was really happy after playing detective and finding the expiry dates on those jars that the jars of salsa were still good. So now I'm just deciding to do a little bit of a rearrange. This fridge came with the house when we bought it, and we moved into this house in January 2025. The bottom shelf of the door in the fridge was missing when we moved in. So as you can see by the number of condiments that we like to keep on hand, this was just not acceptable for us to not have that shelf there. So I went online and I bought a shelf for this fridge, and it turns out that I got the wrong size. So if we put smaller condiment bottles on the bottom shelf of the door, they absolutely fall through all the time. So I'm just doing a little rearrange there just to take some of the bigger jars, like the mayo and the pickles, and then I'm putting those into the door and then moving some of the smaller bottled condiments onto that like produce miscellaneous shelf in the fridge. So hopefully we will have less instances of bottles falling all over the floor when we open the fridge door. Fingers crossed. Moving on to washing the produce. So as you can see, all the produce that I removed from the fridge, I put over here next to the sink to be washed, giving my sink a good scrubbing with just some dish soap before I get started. And then I'm adding some room temperature to cool temperature water to the sink and about an ounce of a veggie wash. I start adding the produce to the sink for it to soak, and just make sure that I remove any of the stickers as I go. I let everything sit for a few minutes and then I start scrubbing and rinsing. The water is looking pretty dirty at this point, so I pull the plug, rinse the sink, and then refill it with veggie wash and water so that I can do the spinach. While the spinach is soaking, I start putting the washed veggies out on a towel to dry. This bunch of spinach that I bought was clearly like pulled out of the ground and taken to the grocery store directly. There was like visible dirt on it. So I could already see how dirty the water was getting. So I'm just making sure after this is soaked for a minute or two, I am giving it a really good rinse here and just making sure that all of that dirt is coming off of the spinach. Now that the spinach is nice and clean and well rinsed, I'm just putting it in my salad spinner to get it as dry as possible before I put it in a container and put it in the fridge. Next up, I am going to peel and slice my carrots. I have been loving having these on hand for my lunches, so cutting them up now is just gonna save me some time during the week so that I can have a little bit more time on my lunch break to get some other things done. I am going to cut the stem off of this pepper as well as the jalapeno pepper that I have just to save some space in my produce containers. And then I'm going to be cutting the stems off of my spinach just to make it easier to use through the week so that I can just take it out of the container and tear it up or chop it without having to go through and discard these really long stems. So getting my containers out now, I'm going to start putting things away in the best space-saving manner possible. So I end up putting my cherry tomatoes in one container, my peppers in another, so that will be the red pepper and the jalapeno pepper. And then I'm gonna put all my carrots together in one container and add some water to it, just to keep the carrots as moist as possible. I like to do this so that the carrots aren't like super dried out as I grab at them through the week. So just a reminder, if you're new here or you're new to produce prepping, I have mentioned on my channel in the past, if you are going to be produce prepping, like washing everything in advance and putting it in containers and putting it in your fridge, just remember that you want everything to be as dry as possible. This is how you're going to prevent your nice fresh produce from going bad. So if you don't have time to let things sit out on your countertop to air dry, just make sure that you're wiping it down before you put it in the containers. So this day I didn't have a ton of time to let things sit out. I wanted to just get it done. So I did take a clean towel and wipe off my tomatoes and my peppers before adding them to the containers, just to make sure that they're nice and extra dry. You're gonna see that for the items that I can't get as dry as I'd like it to be, I will utilize paper towel in the containers just to make sure that they will soak up as much of the extra moisture as possible. So moisture is your enemy when you're produce prepping. Just make sure that things are as dry as you can possibly get them, and then you should have no issue keeping your produce fresh for the week. So you can see that I put paper towel in the bottom of this container as I admire that funny shaped mushroom. And the mushrooms just tended to add a lot of moisture, like they still felt like they had a lot of moisture in them. So paper towel in the bottom of this container, since there isn't a venting tray in it, and I'm hoping that that will keep the mushrooms fresh for the week. In fact, I know that it will because I do it all the time. And then I'll do the same thing with the spinach. The spinach, just because of the shape of it, it tends to hold a lot of water in like all those little crevices in there. So I am going to put the spinach into the container with a venting tray in the bottom, and then I will top the container with a paper towel to try to keep everything as dry as possible. And if I notice that the paper towel is getting wet through the week, I will replace it with a dry one just to keep everything as dry as possible. So in case you didn't hear everything that I just said, keep your produce dry. I feel like I just said it like 50 times. But there you have it. My produce is all prepped. It's looking beautiful and it's ready to go into my fridge. Now that I have everything prepped and organized in my fridge, I'm just doing a very quick little wipe of the shelves. I'm not taking anything out or moving too many things around. It's just a quick maintenance wipe for any visible spots that I can see need to be wiped down, just so that at a quick glance when I open my fridge, everything is fresh and clean and organized. And there we have it. My fridge is looking good. I know exactly what is in there, and I am ready to make all of the delicious meals on this week's meal plan.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you got the motivation that you came here looking for to get your fridge nice and organized for the week ahead. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up for me. Leave any questions or comments down below and I'll be happy to answer those. And if you want to see more videos just like this, be sure to subscribe and I'll see you next week in my next one. Bye!